Hello, friends. Welcome back to the School of Self-Worth. I'm your host, Nicole Song. I'm starting today off with a question. Do you feel pressure to be the perfect leader, the perfect boss, the perfect mom? If you answered yes for any of those, you are in the exact right place because today we get to talk about a topic that comes up all the time for Asian American women, and that is perfectionism. More specifically, today we'll be talking about how to exit the perfectionism trap. This is a really good, juicy one, so make sure you stay tuned. And if you're an Asian American corporate leader who wants to come out of hiding so that you can own your authentic voice and get recognized at work without working more hours, DM me authentic at Nicole Song on Instagram. I've got something over there for you. Okay, friends, let's dig into this juicy conversation. All right, if you answered yes to the question about feeling pressure to be the perfect leader, perfect boss, perfect mom, I am so happy you are here. This is the exact episode for you because this topic, not coincidentally, also came up on a call with my Your Clear Calling cohort. And it felt really important to share with all of you some of the conversations that we're having in there because this is something I find that is especially challenging for Asian American women. So, one of my clients last week, she brought this into our session. She has her own business and she was struggling with the idea that she had to be the model, the example, the perfect leader. And she didn't actually even think she was struggling with it. She just was like, this is what I want. This is how I want to be in my business. But what was happening is her pressure that she was putting on herself was leading her to make decisions from reaction. And she was starting to try to please and make everybody happy instead of making decisions that were serving her and her business. And so we worked on this so that she could really start to recognize that she was trying to be perfect. She was trying to make the perfect decisions. She was trying to make them all think that she was like the best boss that they had ever had. And as a result, she was overcompensating. And internally, it was making her, let's be honest, grumpy. She was staying up late. She was getting to work late, all because she was putting so much pressure on herself. And she was feeling all this anxiety about her job and her leadership. And if this resonates with you, let me know because this is important for us to understand the spiral that we can go down. So, I am a recovering perfectionist and I have had perfectionist tendencies my most of my life, my entire life, I would say. And when I look back at it, there is so much cultural conditioning that came into play that created the perfectionist tendencies because none of us come out of the womb perfectionists. This is something that we learn. So, if you're Asian American, you likely have parents who wanted you to perform at the very highest level because if you did that, that would make the family proud. And, within Asian culture, there is this constant focus on the whole and the collective. And so when you made your family proud, that served the whole over the individual. So this is less about you personally and more about how you could reflect on your family. So probably what happened is you got the best grades at any cost. You put pressure on yourself to get into the best college. You had to have the best job. You had to make the most money. And there was also probably a lot of comparison with other Asian families. And what happens in this is that it can create a cycle where you are always trying to perform at the very highest level, no matter the cost to yourself. Here's what really happened when you learn this. You learn to box yourself in. You learn to create situations where there is no alternative except to be excellent. And as a result, you work so much, you put so much pressure on yourself. You never let up off the gas of you being a certain way in your job, in your home, and in every part of your life as a friend. And now all of a sudden, you feel like there's no escaping, that you are living in this pressure cycle that's like overwhelming, really. And this all shows up in so many different ways. It could be working late to get that PowerPoint ready for the next day. You're checking your email first thing in the morning to make sure you didn't miss anything overnight. You take feedback so hard. You relentlessly try to do better and you tell yourself that it's growth. But actually, what you feel is stress, pressure, and anxiety. And let me tell you something, if you don't feel safe and secure and happy, you don't grow. That's not how growth works. Growth works when we are in a secure, solid, structured environment. When you are pressuring yourself to do better all the time, you actually are only beating yourself into the ground. I go over more of the other types of pressure that Asian American women experience in the Asian pressure cycle. So that's episode 97 if you want to go back and listen to that. And then I get more into the other types of cultural pressures that you might be experiencing. But today I'm going to stick really with the perfectionism. So that's part of the reason we have the perfectionism. But today I really want to talk about the impact of it, because once you get stuck in the cycle of perfectionism, it doesn't ever end. It will show up in so many areas of your life. The way you are as a mom, the way you are as a partner, the way you are around money, the way you are around, what you wear, what you look like. So I still sometimes get into this cycle today. I feel like I have to get things exactly right and that I'm a total failure if I don't. And so, yes, now I'm bringing in something really important, fear of failure, because fear of failure is driving so much of the perfectionism. But here's the truth, and this is what I told my client last week. Nobody is actually perfect. And if you can try to think of somebody who you think is perfect, do you even really like that person? And the truth is, that person also is not perfect. They're just giving you a veneer of perfectionism or perfection. They're not actually perfect. The truth is, we're human. Every human makes mistakes. It is how we learn, it is how we grow. But if you are constantly telling yourself that you cannot make mistakes, you live in a heightened state of anxiety and stress that will never go away. But here's what is the coolest thing. When you learn to become friends with your perfectionist tendencies, you can actually also become friends with failure. That's right. You don't have to have failure be this horrible thing that you can never handle in your life. You can actually start to learn to cozy up to failure, to actually have failure be a teacher instead of something to avoid. And you can stop associating your performance in life with your success or failure as a human being. I'm going to say this again. You can stop associating your performance in life with your success or failure as a human on this planet. Because who you are as a human, your self-worth, your value does not depend on how you perform in your job, who you are as a mother, how you are as a partner, how you are as a daughter, any of those pieces. Like maybe as a kid, you were worried that you wouldn't be loved if you brought home a bad grade, or maybe you got yelled at or scolded. And so that's the program that got installed when you were little, of shame, of failure, of like, I don't want to ever do that again. But you can change that programming. And I would add that it is actually vital to change that programming. It's why I have Your Clear Calling. So much of this is about changing that internal programming. Because when you change that programming, that is when your life opens up. When you're willing to fail and you're willing to own up to mistakes, you stop taking things so personally. You become so much more resilient. You know that no matter what happens in life, you're going to be okay. Like, how would that feel to feel confident that no matter what occurs with this job or this partnership or this house or this part of your life, you are actually going to be fine no matter what, because you know and trust that you can pick yourself back up when things get tough. Perfectionism is brittle. It doesn't allow us to be resilient. It doesn't allow us to flex and move with the flow of life. It requires everything to be a certain way. But when you can really move into this place where you become friends with failure, you can give up the perfectionism. Now you can start to be in life. In the case of my client, now she can be a relatable leader, someone who messes up, and it's okay if you mess up on her team. because everybody does. Like my team knows it's not about the messing up, it's about the rebound. It's about the ability to come back from a challenge that matters. It's not about whether you get things wrong. And it's not about shaming yourself or being hard on yourself for that. So, this is the question for all of you who are like, yep, Nicole, I totally get stressed out and really anxious. And I feel like I'm always holding myself to this unattainable standard. So, today's question for you, if that is you, is how can you ease up on yourself today? How can you acknowledge the good things that you've done and the things you've accomplished, big or small, instead of just beating yourself up for the things that didn't go exactly right? If you can spend some time with this today, how can you ease up on yourself? That is what's going to open the door for you to give up that perfectionism, for you to start to recognize that there are other ways to operate in your life that are so much more powerful than just being hard on yourself and really trying to exact that perfect outcome all the time. Because when we can really loosen our grip off of that perfectionism, that's when things start to get really cool and exciting. Okay, so DM me your answers to the question, how can you ease up on yourself? How can you acknowledge the good things you've done? And DM me your answers at Nicole Song on Instagram. I really want to hear where this goes for you. And if you are an Asian American corporate leader who wants to come out of hiding and step into fully owning your voice and being recognized at work, DM me authentic at Nicole Song on Instagram. And I've got something over there for you. Okay, friends, thank you so much for being part of this powerful conversation. I'll see you next week.